We're finally getting to talking more about Balatro, and having spent a lot of time on this one, I'm left to conclude in my review whether this is either a bad roguelike with good deck building, or a good deck builder with bad roguelike design. Balatro is the latest example of a game with roguelike design to blow up big. It is being played and covered by a lot of people, and for really good reason, as it does a fantastic job of marrying kind of conventional card game dynamics, in this case poker, with that of roguelike progression, variance, and replayability. Our mission is to survive a number of blinds, using our 52 deck of poker cards, all the suits and clubs and hearts and numbers that you can do. But where the game quickly kind of runs away from traditional poker design is with the use of different booster packs and jokers. It is possible to add, remove, or alter different cards in your deck. You can give a card more multiplier, you can turn into a different kind, you can change suits, copy, and so on. And then the real quote-unquote wild card here are the jokers. The jokers are your analog to kind of artifacts or passives in a roguelike or deck builder. Their effects can be small to large, and can do everything from changing the rules of poker to provide you with a huge amount of multiplier or chips, and their kind of impact will vary based on the level of difficulty and the rest of your build. And this is where Balatro is certainly at its strongest. This idea that over the course of a run, you can get some crazily big combinations, where at first it may be an amazing feat to get 1,000 chips, 5,000 chips. If you get really good or really lucky at this game, you can go into the 11 to the power of E times whatever levels of kind of idle number categories with it. And it's this kind of attraction that has brought a lot of people to this game who may not traditionally play roguelikes, or even deck builders. It's very easy to get into. Runs, at least if you're only going for a base win, are very short. And the game does a really solid job of incentivizing you to explore the rules, with the notion of unlocking more jokers, which means more variety of decks, more variety of strategies. However, as my stinger at the beginning should demonstrate, I am not completely in love with Balatro. And it's time to talk about why some of these issues come up, and how, even though the game kind of avoids some of the challenges or issues of traditional deck builders, it can't avoid the balancing problem with them. And this mainly has to do with difficulty. Balatro is a roguelike first, maybe deck builder second, poker game 5th or 6th down the line. And as a roguelike, it features a ton of variance. Which tags or rewards you get for skipping blinds is completely randomized, as well as what items or jokers, cards, boosters, and so on will show up in the shop. As another point, which kind of boss blinds you get will of course be randomly shuffled each time you play. And that's a very big deal. Similar to other deck builder style games, the different boss blind rules are designed to very explicitly punish certain strategies. If you build your entire deck around hearts, and you get the blind that, let's say, debuffs all heart cards, you're kind of screwed. Like, there's no way to get around it. And it's this kind of spikiness in terms of progression and difficulty that lies at the heart of Balatro. Again, this is a game where one good Joker card can completely change your run. Conversely, one bad blind can completely ruin it. But then you're always off to the races with your next run, with your next set of cards, and so on and so forth. The issue that this game has is that it does feature the same kind of problems when it comes to balancing and variance that any deck builder has, but this one is taken to an even greater extreme. Now, before anyone comments down below, it's important to point out that what we're talking about today is going up the different difficulties of this game, the different stakes. If all you're doing is playing this game on the most common stake or difficulty level 1, then these are something that you're not really going to see, or it's not as impactful. And again, this is a major point about roguelike design, and how different builds, different strategies should remain viable for as long as possible. As you go up the different difficulties in Balatro, more conditions are put on you. Some aren't as bad, such as getting eternal jokers. This can actually come back to help you in a big way with how certain joker interactions can work. Some can be quite devastating, such as removing the money reward on small blinds, or raising the kind of progression rate of the chip requirements as you go further and further. The problem that Balatro has is in its early game. As I said, this is an inherently very random-based game for, again, obvious reasons. The issue with it, as the difficulty goes up, so does kind of a tightening of what cards, builds, and options you need to even just squeak out a win. We're not even talking about going into full-on endless super E to the power of 20 levels of play. And this can become very frustrating because at the end of the day, Balatro is not a true deck builder or a true roguelike, in that the player can manipulate the results to win. If we're talking about a game like Slay the Spire, or even an action roguelike like The Binding of Isaac, Dead Cells, and so on, good and bad runs can still be impacted by the player. If I get really bad items in The Binding of Isaac, I can still push through that and get a win. Just like how if I get really good items but still screw up, I can still end up failing. I have an impact on whether or not I win or succeed. In Balatro, the player, and even the act of playing poker, is not a part of the requirement to win. So here's a riddle for all the Balatro fans who are coming probably to defend the game. Tell me, how do you win on the higher stakes when you get no good store tax, you get no good celestial packs, so you're not getting good upgrades to the hands you need to get more chips. The Joker cards are not providing you with chips or multiplier in the short run, and any of the tower cards are just miscellaneous. You're not getting anything that can create a run. How do you win? The answer is very simple. You don't. You're going to lose. And this is where the game gets very frustrating, because you are going to lose a lot in this game, and there is literally nothing you could have done to stop it. There is no amount of getting good when it comes to RNG and math. If my deck can only produce 20,000 chips in 4 hands, and the blind is 30,000 chips, I can't dodge roll to add 10,000 chips to my deck. I can't click harder or click faster. I am just going to lose. And it's by the nature of Balatro that it is going to be completely up to the game to dictate whether or not you're going to win. And unfortunately, this is what kind of rubs this game the wrong way for me. That I want to play a game where I feel like I am being responsible for my own wins or losses. If I lose, well, it's no big deal because I didn't really do anything to facilitate it. If I win, it's also not really a big deal because, well, if the game just gives me all the best jokers or gives me polychrome foil and all that, or even double negatives on really good cards, that's fantastic. That's going to give me a huge win. But did I do anything to make that work? Yes, I can re-roll the shot multiple times. I can keep buying more and more Celestial and Tarot cards. But again, in the early game, when money is tight and you only have so many few ways of actually growing in power, if you don't get anything, that's it, you're done. And as you go up to the higher stakes, if you can't at least get some formation of a build going by like the middle of the second ante, it's over. You cannot win. It's literally not possible simply by virtue of the chips. If it's asking me for 2,000 chips as a blind, and I can only produce, let's say, 350 to 400 with a full house or a flush, I'm done. Like, again, it's a matter of numbers and RNG. And as another point, because I know someone's going to bring this up, well, it is just luck. You know, you can't get that unlucky in a game. This is akin to when someone argued with me that you can't have bad luck in a gacha game. And just, you know, if it's up to an 80% chance to get a 6-star, surely you won't lose that. But as we all know around here, the only guarantee when it comes to numbers is 100%. And to bring this back to the original point of the video, I think Balatro is a great roguelike. It has fantastic spiky elements that lead to a lot of variance. The different Joker designs and reward system for this game are phenomenal. They reward you to keep playing, to keep unlocking, and giving you more and more weird and interesting things to play around with. But conversely, I think this is a terrible deck builder because of it. Because it falls into the same issue that many of these games have done before. When you raise the difficulty in a game that's dealing with fixed numbers and fixed abstraction, things that can't compete become worthless. A Joker that gives you plus 10 multi for every card you play, it sounds really great. But if that's the only Joker you're able to get, and the blinds become higher than what you're able to do, it's not going to work. And as you introduce more and more items, or in this case, more and more Jokers into the randomization, it means that the chance of you getting the specific ones, or any specific one, that you need to succeed becomes less and less. If there's 10 amazing cards in a pack of 20, that gives me a 50% chance of getting something I can work with. If there's 10 really good cards, but it's a pack of 100, now it's becoming a lot harder. And as we've said, RNG is RNG. Someone will probably comment below saying, oh, I'm on gold stake difficulty and I can beat it very easily. The problem is also on you. I just get every good Joker immediately. Or I can manipulate things because I get so much money. But the problem is that Balatro stumbles in the beginning. You just don't have what you need to win at the beginning of a run. You're supposed to build these options up. But if the game simply doesn't give it to you, you can't will the game to give you a rare or a good uncommon or even just a decent common. And if this keeps happening, well, you're just going to keep losing. And yes, you will eventually get that amazing run where your very first store, you'll get the legendary that will just super boost your run, and you'll be able to go into ante 15, 20, whatever with it. It's going to feel amazing and wonderful and fantastic. But how many runs are you going to have where you're going to fail, and it's just going to be failure after failure by no fault of your own? And like I said earlier, I've reached this point playing this game where if I lose, meh. And if I win, meh again. It just is not exciting me. In the same way if I play a game like Monster Train or Slay the Spire, or again, any action roguelike, where as the player, you are in control over whether or not you win or lose. You can win with a bad starting item or bad RNG in a lot of action roguelikes and some of the other deck builders. You can make the Island of Misfit Toy strategy work. But in deck builders and roguelikes where that's not possible, where unless you get the specific items or any good items and nothing else is really going to matter, it just hurts the game in my opinion. And it is a shame because I think Balatro, again, has some really great lessons on roguelike design that everyone should learn about how good it is to have very polarizing and spiky things. that you don't want to just design all the fun and all the weird and all the craziness out of your game, so that someone can get a triple negative legendary, and every card they play, they just get 20 billion, regardless of what it is. And I'm sure someone either has done that or will get that at some point. But good roguelike and good deck building design is about the long tail experience. And I don't think Balatro has it in it to keep breaking the bank for the same amount of variety as we've seen from other deck builders and other roguelikes. And with that said, as I'm sure there's going to be comments down below, what did you think of Balatro? And more specifically, if you've played the game on the higher stakes, when again it begins to tighten its belt on the variants and ways to win, how does the game feel to you then? And I would like to thank the developer for giving me a press key for this one. We have another analysis video going up at some point soon for the game, so be sure to tune in for that. And with that said, if you let me take a look at your game for a future stream, video, whatever, it does not have to be card, poker, or roguelike related, please reach out. Thanks again for watching, and hopefully next review will be probably not as trolly or flaming in the comments. That's going to do it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to do the YouTubing stuff people tell you to do. If you're interested in more of my thoughts on design, check out my books wherever they are sold. Visit our Discord and Patreon, and come back for daily discussions on game design here, and on game wisdom, where you some of the art and science of games.